Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Revelations from the Spinning Ball, a new YouTube channel dedicated to the advancement of astronomy education as well as the debunking of the flat earth theory. Yes, we have yet another globe channel. Since this is our first episode, let me take a quick minute and tell you about myself. My name is Melissa, and yes, I do have a science background. I am sure a certain group of people will claim that I'm indoctrinated, but I don't think that's true. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in chemistry, but more importantly, I have been an amateur astronomer for almost 37 years, and I can tell you that from all of my measurements and all of my observations, our planet is spherical in shape. In fact, if you get out into the field and study the sky for a few years, it becomes very apparent, just as it was to our ancient ancestors, that our home is very round. Another thing you need to know about me is that although I might be new to producing YouTube content, I am no newcomer to the flat earth theory. I have been watching the flat earth community since around 2015. I've purchased flat earth books, I've read them, I've done my research. As a result, I have a few new arguments and perhaps a new perspective on some older arguments. And yes, I do have my favorite flat earthers as well as my favorite globe earthers, but we'll get to that in a later episode. On this channel, we will obviously be scrutinizing flat earth arguments, but we're also going to learn some astronomy, and I hope to make that both fun and interesting for you. We can also do some flat earth video reviews, perhaps interview some flat earthers, do some product reviews, and I'm going to take you out into the field and show you how deep space photography is done. Now, while we're on the subject, let me say, I'm sure that many of you have seen the photographs of stars taken by flat earthers using their Nikon P900s or P1000s. Nikon makes a fine camera, but it's not this type of camera that is used for deep space photography. Not these days, anyway. To take photographs of deep space targets, you need one of these. This is a real CCD camera. This is my best camera, and it was made by Santa Barbara Instrument Group. But I also have this Orion Starshoot Pro. But although I've had it for about 12 years, I've never used it. And the reason for that is that it's a color CCD camera, and that lowers the resolution just a little bit. But I obviously need to use it, so maybe we'll take it out eventually and see how it works. I found some older examples of photographs that I've taken to give you an idea of the types of photographs I take. These are pretty old. Some of these are obviously the same object, reprocessed using different methods. I'm very good at getting out in the field and capturing photographs, but I'm very lazy when it comes to processing those photographs because it takes a lot of work. You have to take multiple photographs, then you have to process them, align them, stack them, and then reprocess them. I'm going to show you how to do that eventually, but right now these are some examples of the types of photographs that I take. Also, I am aware that the audio of these videos is probably in need of improvement. I'm actually in the garage of my 111-year-old home, so I am sure that the acoustics out here could use some work. Unfortunately, this is where I keep my astronomy equipment, as you can see, so hopefully I will be able to figure out something in the very near future. The last thing you need to know about me, and I hate to even bring this up, but no, I have no affiliation with NASA or any government agency for that matter. I wish NASA would cut me a paycheck, but unfortunately, I have no NASA contacts. I did have the opportunity to meet an astronaut when I was about 12 years old. I got to meet Jim Irwin of Apollo 15 when he came to my church and spoke to my youth group. Jim Irwin was a born-again Christian, a big-time born-again Christian, so I find it very hard to believe that he sat there and lied to a group of children. Anyway, I have no NASA contacts. I do have a few NASA products, which I love, but that's about it. Now, today and for the first few episodes, we won't be doing any astronomy, and that is because I have a few simple issues that I want to discuss. And today, we are going to discuss an issue that I have with the flat Earth that I think should get a lot more attention than it does, and that is the gigantic size of the flat Earth. It's absolutely huge. Let me show it to you right now. Before we get to the flat Earth, let's take a quick look at the globe so we'll have it as a reference. To determine the surface area of the globe, we need to determine the surface area of a sphere, since this is a general approximation. The surface area of a sphere is defined as A is equal to 4 pi r squared, where A is the area and r is the radius. We know that the radius of the globe is 3,959 miles, so when we plug in this number, we get a surface area of approximately 197 million square miles. Now keep this number in your mind as we move over to the flat Earth. To get the surface area of the flat Earth, we first need to establish its radius. Historically, the radius of the flat Earth is defined as about 12,000 miles. They are sort of locked into this because we all generally agree that from the North Pole to the equator is 6,000 miles, and from the equator to the ice wall is another 6,000 miles. So we're going to use this 12,000 miles as our radius. The area of a circle is defined as A is equal to pi r squared, where again, A is the area and r is the radius. When we use 12,000 miles as the radius and run it through the equation, we get a flat Earth surface area of a whopping 452 million square miles. This is incredibly huge. In fact, it's unbelievable, and here's why. This gigantic surface area of 452 million square miles means that we can fit one globe at 197 million square miles, plus another full globe at 197 million square miles, and have a remaining 58 million square miles in the flat Earth. If you are a proponent of the flat Earth, this should raise a red flag for you, a big red flag. I mean, does any of this seem odd to you? Does it not seem odd that the globe has somehow overlooked, 255 million square miles? Does it not seem odd that there's an extra full globe of surface area somewhere along with another 58 million square miles that's just hidden and not discussed? And don't forget, this is all inside the ice wall. It's nothing beyond it. This is definitely a red flag, a sea of red flags. This gigantic size of the flat Earth has a direct impact on the water-land ratios we are used to seeing with the globe. On the globe, there is approximately 57.5 million square miles of land, so this means that 70.8% is water and 29.2% is land, which also means the globe is about 2/3 water on its surface. Well, we've all heard this since we were really young, right? On the flat Earth, this water-land ratio changes drastically. If we run the numbers, we get a plain that's 87.3% water and only 12.7% land, which means the surface area of the flat Earth is 7/8 water. That's a boatload of water. Of course, these calculations assume the same amount of land as on the globe because I've never heard of a flat earther claiming that there is more hidden land, at least not inside the ice wall. This extra large, supersized surface area of the flat Earth obviously impacts measurements in the southern hemisphere, but it also affects measurements at the equator. For the globe, the circumference at the equator is given as around 25,000 miles, But for the flat Earth, the circumference measures 38,000 miles. That's a full 13,000 miles of circumference that's apparently hidden from us. Really? A full 13,000 miles? By the way, if the flat earth community would like to reveal the so-called truth to the rest of the world, at least as far as the shape of the earth is concerned, all they need to do is present credible evidence that the equator is significantly larger than the stated 25,000 miles. They wouldn't even have to measure the entire circumference, just a portion of it, and show that the globe measurements are wildly off. As a matter of fact, they could measure distances just about anywhere on the earth to do this, but the measurements will be scrutinized, repeated, and put to the test. Ever wonder why they haven't done this? Just show us that the distances are off or that the earth broadens out once you pass south of the equator? I wonder why they never done this. It's definitely something they could do fairly easily. Lastly, the flat earth fails when it comes to predicting distances, like between two cities, even in the northern hemisphere. Now tonight, I actually watched a debate on FTFE between a flat earther and a pilot, and they were arguing over distances, and the flat earther was alluding to using the ruler on the Gleason map, but it doesn't matter. As long as the radius is 12,000 miles, the distances will always be off. They will always be too large. I mean, if you put the globe into a circle, what? You need a radius of about 5,500 miles, something in that category. So they must, if they are going to make distances work, show that the radius is significantly less than 12,000 miles, and they're going to have a very hard time doing that. Well, that about wraps up this episode of Revelations from the Spinning Ball. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing. And don't miss my next video where I am going to discuss some freaky things concerning the flat earth. Until next time, remember, flat earth might be a thing on YouTube, but out in the real world where real science is done, there is no flat earth. There is no flat earth because no one has ever demonstrated with credible evidence that our planet is flat. There is no conspiracy. There is simply no evidence. And that is just a fact. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.